B, I am excited today.
Why? Explain to me why.
I'm so excited because
I know why.
we have Coyote Peterson on.
We got the Coyote coming in.
It's very rare. I'm excited for a guest. I gotta be honest.
Yep. Well,
I mean, it's cool. We have comics on, athletes. When you got a guy,
this is a guy
who's balls deep in animals.
He uses his body as a sting pad and a chew pad.
But he's also an expert.
He's an expert, and he uses his arms as a chew pad for alligators.
You and I love us a couple 1-2 exotic animals.
Yes,
now this guy does it for a living.
Yeah, and we talk about this stuff. This is a guy who goes, you know what? I'm gonna see what it feels like. I'm gonna see what it feels like.
Just a kid from Columbus, Ohio.
That's it.
I mean, he's the next. You never know who's going to be the next John Elway. You never know who's going to be the next Steve Irwin. Well, Coyote Peterson's the next crocodile hunter.
Yeah, it's gonna be
and then some. Mm-hmm. He's a smart dude. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for this one, man. Well, enough of us talking. Mm. Let's bring in the real expert. Mm. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy. This is a big one for us. Coyote Peterson.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Coyote Peterson on our podcast.
He's my hero.
Well, I think we were just talking. He might be the first guy we've ever actually actively reached out to after watching him get stung by everything you can imagine. And I guess that's kind of at this point what you do, and you get 17 million hits on things like the cow killer, aka velvet ant. When you decided to let it sting you and you broke the internet. Yeah. It's funny how we all are fascinated with watching somebody else writhe in pain over something we're all terrified of.
Right. Well, thanks, guys, so much for having me on the show. I'm honored to be here. And, the fact that you guys watch the show is pretty cool. To just be sitting here to talk about the crazy stuff that my team and I have gone through so far over just the course of this past year. YouTube has been so amazing to us and the adventures we've been on. And
well, why do you do it? I mean,
why do I get bitten and stung by things, or make animal videos?
Well, no, it's you got. Very few people can convey the enthusiasm. The crocodile hunter was one. Mm-hmm. You're one of those guys where you actually convey a great deal of childlike enthusiasm.
Right.
That's contagious,
and he's knowledgeable.
Yeah,
like if I were to do him, like, whoa, look at this crazy spider! Oh God! Oh my God, that hurt! Like that's not going to work,
and not swear at all too. That's a lot of people. How do you not swear? We're going to get 300
views. Right. Like, well, look at that meathead getting bit. But when you're doing it, I'm like, no, he's not right now. And you're like dropping facts on the animal.
And he doesn't go, oh my God. He goes, whoo. Don't you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
He usually goes on the ground.
Is it that way? I think it's H-O-O-O-O. You string a bunch of O's behind an H?
Yeah, I just make kind of like noises that are like, okay, I know that in my mind I have to get through the initial pain because I could just roll around on the ground for minutes, but people are like, we want to know what's going on. So Mark will say to me as the director and producer of these shows, like, come on, we need to know, what are you going through? It's funny because a lot of people will be like, he'll say, you okay, man? And people are like, oh, is he okay? Look, he's rolling around on the ground.
Yeah, you can hear him in the back going, you all right, man?
Yeah.
You good? I guess. I mean, as good as you can
my
be.
arm is on fire. Yep. Well, we call it my DiCaprio sometimes because I can hit like this really high register, like in The Revenant, where it's like that's one of my favorites.
True. Where did the inspiration come from? Because obviously, I'm sure as a child you were obsessed with animals. I mean, I think especially Brian and I both were.
Right.
You name an animal, I probably had it. I never thought about making a career out of it.
Well, I grew up kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like my options during the day, especially on summer vacation, were either street baseball, which was awesome. You play a whole series, 7-game series, and eventually you're like, all right, we got to find something else to do. So we'd head off into the woods, and I grew up with acres and acres of wilderness behind me, lakes and ponds and streams, and then you find the swamps, and then you discover that there are snapping turtles out there. So I had all the neighborhood kids that I grew up with. We used to just entourage it out into the wilderness searching for snapping turtles, and that honestly is where it all began. And snapping turtles were these prehistoric looking creatures with bite force and razor sharp claws, and you jump into a pond, you pull one of these things out of the mud.
You would pull them out.
Oh yeah.
Which we had a little experience.
What's awesome is I grew up with these two kids, still friends of mine today, Jeff and Randy, and we used to actually send Jeff out into the swamp, and he would feel around with his boots until a snapping turtle would bite the tip of his boots. He'd be like, I've got one, and then I'd come out and I'd be the one that would actually go underwater into the mud to catch the turtle and bring it up. Yeah, we had this whole
they won't
game
run
plan.
from you. They'll actually, the alligator snapping turtle will snap onto you.
Well, this is a common snapping turtle. So there's two different kinds: alligator snapping turtle, common snapping turtle. Where I grew up in Ohio, they were common snapping turtles, which are actually more aggressive than the alligator snapping turtles. So they're not quite as big, but they've got some attitude.
And then you guys would just analyze it and then put it back in the water?
Yeah, what we would do is we'd be way out there, so we would hike the turtle all the way back to my house where we could show my mom the turtle. She'd sit there and take pictures of us covered in mud holding these turtles, cool. And then it'd be like, well, got to walk it all the way back into the woods and let it go into the pond again. I mean, this was like a daily thing that we would do. And you didn't catch one every single time. So when you got one, it was like winning a sports championship.
It's kind of like hunting, right? But trap and release, but you release.
Yeah, I mean, the same concept of hunting. Nothing is hurt, obviously, when we're doing this. But it takes time. It takes patience. You're looking for the right signs in the environment. And honestly, it breaks down to right place, right time before you actually find one.
What's it? So alligator snapping turtles are bigger. I think the one we saw in Oklahoma was an alligator snapping turtle.
Likely,
bit through...
I mean, he was like a circus elephant snapping turtle.
Yeah,
but he was
huge.
He still bit through that magazine
for sure.
The guy goes, "Go ahead,
a phone book.
How about me trying to?
Book.
Yeah, I'm in a phone book, and I'm in a tug of war with this thing.
Yeah. They're incredibly powerful. Well, and you guys know I did the one episode where I put my arm in an alligator snapping turtle's mouth, which is really kind of where all these bite and sting episodes originated from. We said
I missed
that one.
Oh, you guys didn't see that one?
Can we bring that up, Jen?
That's the one that really started all. And here's, I love our fans. They're so incredible. We call them the Coyote Pack, right? And we're in the hotel room one night. And we're having trouble finding any real big turtles. And we're like, wonder what it would be like to get bitten by an alligator snapping turtle. We're like, let's ask the audience. So I posted on Instagram, hey, would you guys like to see me bitten by an alligator snapping turtle? Thinking everybody would be like, no, Coyote, don't do it. That's way too dangerous. The unbelievable number of messages of people saying, yes, we want to see what happens. So Mark and I were like, oh no, it's like midnight.
You have to do it.
We have to do it. We're like, well, I can't just put my arm in there. A lot of people don't realize that we really think about these things before we do them. So
no, you don't, but keep going.
Well, I don't want to lose my arm. There's veins and squishy things in here. It could really cause some serious damage. So we said, okay, well, we'll catch a big snapping turtle. One about 40 pounds would be right, so that hopefully it wouldn't just crush my arm. So that's a solid that's actually 42-pound alligator snapping turtle right there.
God.
And we went out to Walmart at midnight and we found all these different materials to build a brace on my arm. And then we saw turkey legs and we're like, what would be awesome? Let's let the turtle bite a turkey leg first so you can see what it does to flesh. It actually cracked the bone in the turkey leg. And we were like, oh no.
Problem.
This might actually crush my arm.
Yeah.
So, we were originally going to do it with these paint stir sticks, but then we came up with the idea of, well, let's use bamboo shoots because they're pliable. And we built a brace. I was unbelievably nervous to do this. And we were working with a guy in Louisiana who knew a lot about alligator snapping turtles. He's like, this is crazy. He's like, you shouldn't do this. And we're like, well, we've gone this far. There's no turning back. And Mark's like, come on, we got to get these shots. This is going to be awesome. So sure enough, build the brace, put my arm in the turtle's mouth, chomped down on me quite a bit. And what we didn't anticipate is that he's going to turn his head just a little bit. That's when the beak pierced through the brace and put huge puncture marks into my arm. And yeah, I mean, your adrenaline's rushing. Yeah. So it's like, you don't really feel it. I was like, okay, I'm done. And done.
After you feel it.
So this thing could probably very easily bite a finger or two fingers.
A turtle of that size could easily remove your finger in a single chomp.
God.
Yeah. So it was, and at first we the real goal was to kind of give people an education about this, to be, obviously you never want to try to handle one of these turtles. If you see it in the wild, just admire it from a safe distance. It's doing what it's doing.
Sure will.
And that's your goal through all this.
Yes. There's always an educational spin to all of this at the end of the day. And honestly, it's to teach you about these animals or to prove or disprove myths or help eliminate people's fears of certain things, especially with some of the sting episodes. But
I wonder how many dogs have gotten caught up with alligator turtles.
Great stories. Who get tagged by turtles a lot are cows in ponds where cows go in and they're drinking water and a snapping turtle will bite like the lip off of a cow. It's a sad thing.
That's going to hurt.
A cow, yeah. So, but for the most part, like an alligator snapping turtle, it's an opportunistic predator and they're an ambush predator. So they lay on the bottom of a river with their mouth open. They have this little worm-like appendage that is on the bottom of their jaw. It looks like a worm, and a fish swims in. Boom. That's it. Game over.
Mm-hmm. So from there, you're off to the races. Mm-hmm. After this, people were like, yeah, let's do more crazy stuff.
Well, it was either people are going to look at this as being like, okay, really, really bad idea, which some were, but a lot of people were like, wow, that was fascinating. What are you going to get bitten by next? We're like, well, we didn't really think about what's next, and it just kind of took off from there.
There was a moment that got me with you, which was you were breathing like your face was pressed against sand after getting stung by the tarantula hawk, and you were breathing, and you were in so much pain that there was no vanity whatsoever. It was like The Revenant.
Yeah,
it really was. It was like, and I thought, this guy is. This is beyond just, trying to make a TV show. This is an experience, and I don't know. There was just something about it that I was just like,
well, for us with the audience, a big thing is to really let what happens there on location happen. And I owe a lot of it to my amazing crew behind the scenes, Mark and Chance and Mario, who are running the cameras.
So there's three of you?
There's three of us.
Have any of the guys ever gotten caught up with?
No, and that's part of my job, to always make sure that the guys are safe first and foremost. If I've got to throw myself in front of an alligator to make sure that Mark can't worry about the animal. Yeah. Mark needs to worry about getting the best shot he possibly can, and that's why we pride ourselves in the production quality that we put into these episodes, the care and precision that we put into getting the macro shots. Like, people want to see that stinger go into my arm. I mean, I could be like, hey guys, I'm over here, I'm getting stung by this ant, and you're like, well, did he really get stung? We prove to the audience that I'm getting stung by how close we get those cameras.
Yeah, dude.
So after the alligator snapping turtle, you guys are like, all right, what else can we do? And then what was the next recommendation?
The next big bite one.
Like, did you make a list?
We always think about this in advance. Yeah, we've got some great ones coming up in 2017. But the one that we did that was a big bite one after this ended up being the alligator, the American alligator, because we wanted to kind of give
strongest bite, by the way. But correct me if I'm wrong. Strongest bite in the animal kingdom.
An alligator?
I've heard.
No, alligators are up there. Like a saltwater crocodile has a stronger bite force than the American alligator. But an American alligator, for a creature that you'll find in the United States, is one of the top, especially in the reptile kingdom.
Yeah.
So a lot of people end up getting alligators as pets. They start off as just a few inches long, and they're cute. They make these little chirping sounds, and it's like, this is a good idea.
I like Brendan, because Brendan, as you're saying that, Brendan he raises his hands a little bit and he just starts shaking his head.
What are you gonna do with an alligator?
Well, you don't know what to do with. Now, Junior here, who is about 2.5 on, well, what about like 3 feet long, 3-4 feet long. Like, this alligator is this big after about 2 years. So what we're trying to show people is that, all right, if you have an alligator and you go in to clean its tank and your arm gets too close.
Yeah.
We didn't intend for this alligator to latch onto my arm for 7 minutes. I thought it was going to bite and let go. It had no interest in letting
Let's
go.
just hear Coyote talk here for a sec. It's hilarious to me.
To get him to let go, I'm going to try to just pry his jaw down.
Yeah, go ahead and push on the teeth there.
There you go, Coyote.
He's not letting go.
You sound pretty calm, though.
Well, that's a tiny alligator, but it's still a dinosaur.
Then it just popped through the other side.
Has there ever been a time where you're like, we might have to kill this animal? Has there anything been that where you're in such desperation, danger, where you're like,
wow.
I would have sat here as long as see that's where it gets bad.
Hurt.
He kept doing that, these like bite down moments in those teeth when you can feel your skin pop.
Yeah,
that is the worst. That puncture where you're like, oh man, and then he'd move a little and different teeth would go in.
Go ahead and pry his jaw open with a stick or something.
Yeah, well, that's a good tactic to use. I mean, not that anyone's ever going to be bitten by an alligator, and it was more the fact that the stick was just like, it didn't hurt the alligator in any way. It's like, okay, this is a new uncomfortable feeling in my mouth, and it just allowed me to get my arm squeaked out enough, and the teeth ripped the underside of my arm. I mean,
now we're going to lever that mouth open. Got to lever that mouth open. That's all it is, guys. We do the same thing with a pit bull.
So you went from a snapping alligator turtle to an actual alligator.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then when is the team pitched it to you, they're like, all right, here's the thing. We're thinking about a tiger
bite idea. That was
use a smaller alligator.
We were going to use a smaller alligator, and then we were kind of
like one of the little baby ones.
Yeah, we were like, that's not going to look good enough. Like this, we
isn't.
knew that it needs to be like, it has to look and be as painful as what it was. But there's never any rhyme. There's no like set like, okay, this is going to be the next animal when we started out doing what this is going to be the next bite or sting thing. Really, until it got into the insect sting pain index, that's where we're like, okay, now we have a structure that we can follow. Like there is an actual ladder to climb here.
And looking back on it, obviously the bullet ant is number one, and the tarantula hawk is number two.
Yes. So
is there any way in words you can describe? Because obviously it's something you have to experience when you get stung by something like that. But you were in pain. at least you couldn't sleep well that night.
No, for the bullet ant.
Yeah,
No,
and it kept coming back, right? The waves
Yeah.
of pain.
People were demanding the bull ant too. I saw it.
It
Anytime
was
you do, they're like
crazy.
bullet ant.
Yeah.
I could not make a social. I could make a social media post about like who loves sloths, and every comment would be like, "When are you going to get stung by the bullet ant? Where's the bullet ant?
Waiting
Are you
for it."
chickening out on the bullet ant?" It's like, but we strategically planned it at one point. Like we knew that the audience was like waiting in anticipation, so we said, "Okay, let's work the sting pain index." And then we took a month off from extreme episodes in November because we wanted to release our Wolverine episode, which was my big goal for the year. Get to Alaska, get to work with the Wolverine, just so we could build that anticipation for the bullet ant coming out just before Christmas.
Does it get easier? Like, obviously, you're nervous for all of them, but because you've been doing so many animals and you've gone through the whole list, do you get less nervous?
I was nervous for the tarantula hawk. I was not nervous for the bullet ant.
I was
think
sweating during the tarantula
Dude,
hawk.
so
the
was
tarantula
I.
hawk is so bizarre and
I won't go to
other
Arizona.
planet looking.
I refuse
you
to
know?
go to Arizona.
They're here in the
I was
United
like,
States. They're here in LA, aren't they?
Not in LA.
Southern California,
Desert.
you could probably find some. Yeah, they're you wouldn't find them
Desert.
here in the city, but
No.
yeah, it's a desert.
Not Marina
creature, but-
Del Rey or Venice.
You know, they're never anything that's going to come after you or sting you. Like you would
They're not
really have
aggressive.
to be. They're not aggressive at all. They pollinate. They eat nectar. You know,
Yeah.
it's not a creature. If you're a tarantula, it's a bad situation
Yeah.
to be in.
Those things are so gnarly.
They're so
But they're
gnarly.
just so big, and the sound that it would make when we had it in the glass capsule sounded like
I thought it was going to break the
spaceship.
capsule.
Like a
yeah, it
drone.
was yeah, and then once you have that thing in the forceps, the night before the tarantula hawk, I did have a lot of trouble sleeping because the velvet ant was bad. We did the velvet ant, we took a day off, and then we did
The
the
cow
tarantula
killer.
hawk. Yeah, and you know, with having those two under our belts, so to speak, when we got to the bullet ant, there was so much anticipation built for it, and we knew that the audience was so excited about it. It's really kind of what drives me at the same time to be like, the audience is excited, I can be excited.
If there was a color that you could attach, I would imagine it'd be something like red to that pain.
Red or black, sir?
Blue. It would be that blue flame. Yeah.
Blue flame.
It definitely with the
That's
See,
the
we didn't
hottest
think
part.
of that.
That's the hottest
the
part of the
initial
flame, isn't it?
sting. And honestly, if you guys want to know, the initial impact from the tarantula hawk was worse than the bullet ant, but we made bullet ant, we listed that, and we understand now why it's number one, because the pain doesn't go away. It actually got worse.
It's a different kind of toxin.
It is. It's called a panerotoxin that comes out of the bullet ant,
Panera.
and it does have hallucinogenic properties. And I was pretty like loopy for a while afterwards. Nothing where I was like seeing like butterflies in the sky or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's not like
but-
a fun time.
Well, the Yanomamo
No.
or whoever it is, they'll put their hands in those gloves.
Yeah, well, there are several different native tribes in South America that it is a ritual that young boys will go through where you put your hands into the bullet ant gloves. Now, a lot of people
That's a
ask,
terrible idea.
well, Coyote, why don't you do the bullet ant gloves? Now, I could have done the bullet ant gloves.
Bullet
It probably
ant
would have been
gloves.
okay, but the thing is, you don't see that. And for our audience,
Yes.
it's really important to see the experience.
Mm-hmm.
A single ant, we felt, had more impact than me having my hands in the gloves, because I could have been like,
You'll say it's
stinging."
fake.
No,
You
but it
don't
did.
see
You're
it.
right. You're
and,
right.
and we got lucky in that instance. I mean, again, you got to do all this in one take. That ant stung me. And when it happened, I felt the stinger go in, and it wasn't the same impact that happened with the tarantula hawk. And its stinger got stuck in my arm. And immediately, like, you could feel the pain setting in, almost like a wasp sting. And I'm just, yelling to Mark, get the shot. Like, the stinger's stuck in my arm. And the ant does like this 360. And then you can see its stinger like go and pop out of my arm. And at that point, like, I was just saying in my head, don't move. Because my natural reaction, your body, whenever you take an impact, I'm sure, as you know, you get hit with a punch or something like that. It's like your body wants to react. So I had to mentally overcome that to make sure these guys got the shot. So the audience really felt like, oh my gosh, this was
The bull ant is like, wait for it, number one for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a little loopy loop here.
Yeah.
Wait
Do a
for
loop.
it.
Well-
Tarantula hawk, huh? Wait
Yeah.
for it.
He did like
Wait
a little
for it.
dance around the ring.
He's all 5, 4, and how you feeling now?
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys on
Well,
the other
actually,
side.
he stung him and then did a victory lap. He stung
did.
him and went, I got my butt in you.
No,
and
he's
now I'm
like,
gonna
wait
do a little-
for it. Wait
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
Wait for it. Numero uno.
It's going to get much worse.
You know what's crazy is that these, and a lot of people don't think like an insect would have a personality, but they certainly do. And we have such an incredible respect for each and every one of these animals that we are fortunate enough to, catch and then put on camera. We call them their own little celebrities, right? They don't realize how famous they're going to be. And that's the way we look at this. Like, people are always showing up for the animals. I mean, we're very fortunate that people enjoy me as the presenter for these animals, but the animals are really the stars at the end of the day. And when we did the bullet ant. Before we did the sting and Mark was filming macro shots, that thing just sat in the bottom of the capsule, like staring at us. And it's almost like it knew. It's like, oh, as soon as I get the chance, you're going to get a wallop for capture.
How do you guys catch these things?
Oh, that was precarious. Catching
You
the
obviously have
bullet ants.
to do some game planning, map it out, where they're at.
Oh, well, let's go to the tarantula hawk capture first.
was gonna say,
because
let's go to
that
that.
one was.
Ugh.
We tried for days to catch a tarantula hawk.
Because I thought you'd gone to some broker who breeds them, and that's what.
I don't think there's such a person. I don't think there's such a person.
Broker, a guy who hates money.
The black market tarantula.
I'm trying to rent out my tarantula hawk. Hey, quick, we got someone on email. Hey, let's get stung by it, bro.
Right,
dude. Think
about the business plan.
I got a business plan. I'm gonna breed tarantula hawks, and I'm gonna rent them out to people who want to get stung. You'd have one.
You go on
Coyote
Craigslist.
Do you
Peterson.
really think someone did that?
Well, in Hollywood, you can actually get
Not tarantula hawks,
No, but
sir.
in
Not
movies,
bullet ants.
in movies when they need wasps or stuff in horror movies that you can actually go and get anything you want. Believe it or not.
Yeah, now it's a special effect. And it
Yeah,
doesn't
now
look
it's
that
computer
good.
generated,
Yeah.
but no one's renting
No
out tarantula
computer generated animals on the Brave Wilderness channel. No, the tarantula hawk, we tried for days to catch one. And the one that we ended up catching, which we didn't even get it well on camera, but we ended up getting an episode out of it. I don't know if you guys saw it, where I fell
net,
into the
right?
cactus with a net.
Yeah, with the net.
And like, I knew that I was hitting cactus when I jumped to catch it. And they're not real fast. They're so big when they take off from something. The problem is finding them where they've landed somewhere. And I made the catch, but when I did, I kind of went off the edge of this cliff. And, I'm not exactly a ballerina, and I just sacrificed everything of what it was. And when I was going to the cactus, I kind of did like the football roll, and it's like, all right, protect my face, and hit into this cactus. We ended up getting this episode where then Mark had to pull all these choya
got
cactus
tore up.
parts.
I did that for Joe Rogan. I had to pull a lot of quills out of his butt and
Did you?
thigh when he was hunting.
He
deer.
got
Yeah.
tore up.
It is painful. The thing that what people didn't see was after the fact, like the next day, because those barbs have all these little hooks on, that rips the flesh under the skin. So I had these major black and blue blood blisters all over my shoulders and my back, where it looks like, I was taking,
This is
fighter
what you do
punches.
for the shot. You'll do anything for the shot.
Anything to have caught that tarantula hawk because of the amount of time we spent looking for one. And
Where were you
had to
when you caught it?
This was in the Sonoran Desert in Arizona.
And you just go through the desert in desert I've actually been through. I think I've been hiking in Phoenix, so I consider that the Sonora Desert.
Sonoran Desert south, but similar.
But you guys know what I mean.
Similar.
Right, the
I just like
desert.
it has something in common with Coyote.
Everything he does.
Yeah.
to
Like, let me try to top it. Like, I saw a tarantula.
I pulled those out of Joe Rogan.
Yeah, me too. But so you just kind of wandered the desert until you saw one. They're that common where you can actually see them, or it must have taken a long
It
time.
depends where you are. When you're out searching on just open land, it can be a lot tougher. And what a lot of people don't realize, and we try to be as opportunistic as we possibly can, we'll spend hours and hours and hours searching an environment before we actually come across an animal. We'll shoot B-roll shots, and it's kind of, you got to be in the right place at the right time. And that's where we have the spontaneity about our productions, where it's like, there's an animal, it's go time, or I will, like, if our wildlife biologist is always with us, it's like, okay, he'll yell to me like, Coyote, the facts that you need for this one, because we do a lot of research in advance before we show up on a location to make sure that, we'll pick 50 animals and be like, okay, maybe we'll find 5 to 10 of them. But it's always like, okay, sometimes you have to properly identify a species before you even get the cameras running. And then if the animal's taking off, sometimes it's just like, you got to go and you got to run with it in the moment.
Do you know if anything, I would imagine maybe birds, does anything eat the tarantula hawk? And do we also know why they have to be why the sting has to be that powerful? Because tarantulas are kind of small. I mean, that's kind of overkill. You know what I mean? It's like a artillery shell.
Some of the tarantulas
are
out there are
big boys.
pretty darn big. But
Spider World?
we should
Coyote.
bring a tarantula in. We'll bring a tarantula to
boys.
your house and put it on your pillow, and then when you're sleeping, we'll wake you up and you tell
there's
us.
some big.
Name a
there's
bigger
some big-
spider, B.
No, but I'm saying that
also hairy.
I'm saying that the sting can bring a grown man to the
Right.
a 200-pound man to the ground,
Right.
And a tarantula is probably a couple ounces,
Yeah.
Even though they're big. It's just like, I wonder why something like the bullet ant tarantula hawk has
So venomous?
venom that's that strong, and that packs that
Think
much
about
of
the
a
coral
punch.
reef snake, right? Can it kill like one drop? Can kill.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there are
right?
several
Yeah.
species of sea snakes that are actually the most
Insane.
deadly in the world, despite the fact that
Are
they're
you
very,
going to the ocean?
We've done so much. We actually caught one of the most dangerous snakes in all of the Western Hemisphere, a yellow-bellied sea snake, which if you're tagged by that, you got 6 hours.
But snakes, you can't really there's not like, check it out, I'm getting bit by a yellow belly sea snake.
No.
There's none of that, right? Like we gotta draw the line somewhere.
I'll never be bitten by like a rattlesnake or anything that's like venom that will actually
Neurotoxin?
destroy your skin. And again, we do a lot of research. Me being stung by a bullet ant, people are stung by bullet ants. It's just how do you present that to the audience and how do you make it interesting and entertaining and provide an education and the good production shots. But going back to the tarantula hawk, yes, there are things that eat tarantula hawks, birds and stuff like that. But the sting needs to be so potent so that when they drop down on the ground and battle a tarantula, like one quick jab with that stinger to a tarantula puts it into an immediate state of paralysis.
Gotcha.
Then the tarantula hawk drags that tarantula down into the tarantula's own home, lays an egg on it, and it's just stuck there, still alive but paralyzed until the egg hatches and then the larva feasts on the body of that tarantula, and then another tarantula.
So the tarantula,
how dark is nature?
I was going to say,
how dark?
How bad would that
That's a horror
suck?
film right there.
It is a horror film.
You couldn't sell that to Hollywood.
Can paralyze.
Actually,
you.
we probably could nowadays.
It's too
with
dark.
Like Sharknado and Human Centipede.
that was
and
too
stuff
dark.
Like that.
That's Alien.
Killer
it's just too
tarantula
dark.
hogs.
Well, that's the movie Alien. The alien would
That's
sting
true.
you and put
It's all about having a
Prometheus.
good host,
Yeah.
a host that's full of nutrients for my babies to feed
Dude,
on.
that is so. I'm going to paralyze you, but I'm going to bury my egg in you.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
a
they're going to
bad
feed
day.
on you. They're going to hatch. They're going to eat you from the inside out.
You are alive when they begin to eat you. You know?
Has there been anything that you just haven't caught yet? Like you guys had a plan to film this, but it just got away. It was too tough to. Maybe you just didn't see it at all, or maybe never caught it.
There's a lot of stuff that people don't ever see when we show up to a location. A perfect example is we went to Texas earlier this year to chase this giant alligator snapping turtle story. I mean, huge. We're talking like possibly a 250-pound, maybe world record size alligator snapping turtle. And we saw it. We saw it 2 days in a row. It's so big, guys. This isn't a turtle I can just jump in the water and catch.
It's like the size of this table.
Yeah, about as big as it's the biggest snapping turtle I've ever seen. The excitement coming out of me, I was like a little kid on Christmas. Like Santa has brought me the prize that I've been after.
Do we have video of this?
Well, we don't because we didn't
son.
actually end up catching the turtle. And here's the funny thing. Again, something that people don't often see is you show up to a location. We had this great strategy for how we were going to catch it. Saw it 2 days in a row. And then once we went into the environment and started thinking, okay, this is how we're going to go about this, the turtle just like a phantom disappeared. It's almost like, well, I've grown to be this big. I know when somebody is thinking about getting me. And I'm always looking back at it. It's kind of like our white whale story. It's like, man, like I had this opportunity. There was a moment where I had the chance to like make a jump into the water and catch it, but the water was over my head and the turtle was not at the right angle. Now you have to understand your arm goes into a mouth of a turtle this size. We're talking about a head the size of an NFL football. That bites your arm.
What?
It's game over. And in water over your head, you're talking about, 150-pound me isn't going to swim a 250-pound turtle to the surface.
No, you're not.
You're going down.
No, you're not.
How'd you hear?
no.
So were people telling you he's around here? They've seen him?
Yeah. Where this place was, the turtle's actually pretty famous, and they wanted us to come out and catch the turtle so we could weigh it to find out if it was a world record. And hopefully we're going to return to the location someday and try this again. But the point of me telling the story is that while we were there on that location, we still filmed other episodes that we didn't plan to. And actually one that did incredibly well, which was a water moccasin versus a water snake. So the moccasin is venomous, the water snake is not. And people oftentimes misidentify a venomous snake for a non-venomous snake.
They look similar though, yeah?
They really, really do. And we try to educate people about the differences, why you want to never try to handle any snake, but why you want to identify them properly so people aren't out there trying to kill these animals. You don't need to be afraid of them. You just need to respect what they are. And if we can get an educational episode out of not catching this giant turtle, and that episode's done around 10 million views.
Amazing.
Which we would have never guessed. We got this great 11-minute adventure episode and had so much fun searching the swamps for these snakes. And you always get something. We don't ever show up to a location and get skunked. We may not get what we were after, but we always manage to come.
Can you
with
tell
something.
the difference between a water moccasin and a water snake at a glance?
Absolutely. I could probably tell you blindfolded.
You're an
if you
expert.
just let me,
You're an expert. That's like saying, can you say,
we should have brought some in and we could have asked
That'd
you
been
to
fun.
tell us.
Water moccasins, are they as poisonous as a rattlesnake?
Well, they're venomous. That's another misconception that you have to know. There's venom and there's poison, and snakes are venomous. So venom is injected into your system through like fangs or a stinger, right?
Okay.
And venom acts much differently than poison. And water moccasins are not as toxic as some of the rattlesnake species we have here in the United States, but it's enough so that it's all how your body reacts to venom, right? So you could be bitten by something venomous and really be okay if you didn't go to the doctor. Now, we always recommend if you're bitten by something,
Give me an
seek
example
medical
of
attention.
like rattlesnake or water moccasin. You could be okay. Potentially,
You could. I have friends that I know, experts that have been bitten by Western diamondbacks, which have some of the most toxic venom in the United States, and they've just waited it out to see how their body reacts. Now,
was it a dry bite? Maybe they didn't have as much venom.
No, there can be a dry bite, which is good that you know that, but you never know a dry bite. You can never be too
Okay, you
careful.
can't predict
You always got to seek help. And as soon as your arm starts swelling up, you know that venom has entered your system. It's just a matter of, is your body going to be able to fight that off?
Wow.
Like I was bitten by a Gila monster, not intentionally, and it is the worst pain I have ever experienced.
Really?
More than the tarantula.
You're a big guy. I feel like a Gila monster may put you on the ground.
Oh, I want no part of that.
Yeah, no. Nobody.
They have like ooze out of their mouth. They
Yeah,
look like a comic book lizard.
Well, one thing, because they say that only a fool
Did you see
is
the
bitten
Gila
by a
monster?
Gila
I
monster.
didn't. First of all, I pronounce it Gila monster, but
Gila.
But
Gila.
if correct me if I'm wrong, their fangs are in the back of their mouth, are they not?
No, their
Poison in
fangs
their mouth,
are
yeah.
all through. They don't have fangs. They have teeth. They're like razor blades, and they're turned backwards, right? So imagine your hand going into a bear trap, and it's like a bulldog. It is like the bulldog of the lizard world. They don't let go. And the thing is, you aren't pulling it off because those teeth are angled backwards.
And you
Unless
didn't
you want
plan to get bit?
No. This is one of
Shouldn't
those
I bring
classic
that up?
instances of they build GoPro sticks for a reason. Yet Coyote thought, I'm just going to hold the GoPro and get some of these sweeping shots. And this was, we didn't even intend for this to be an episode. We had already done a great Gila Monster episode previously in our first season of Breaking Trail. And when this happened, this is one thing that we love to do with the audience. I also make mistakes, guys. I am not perfect in any sense. So when something bad happens, it's like we want to catch this on camera. So we went back after the fact and I filmed kind of an interview thing where we talked about, the big takeaway, you see how close I'm getting there with the GoPro? Yeah, that's why they make selfie sticks. But it lunged its head around and for just a brief second tagged my thumb.
Pull my thumb back extremely quickly, which I did, and that's why I have all these razor blade slices on my thumb. I literally yanked my finger out of its mouth.
You sure did.
I grabbed onto my finger the moment that I was bitten, and almost immediately the pain from the venom started surging through my hand.
Coyote here, bent over again.
Oh, God.
Talking through the pain.
This is a scary moment.
Wait for it. Oof. Ooh.
The Gila said, enjoy that for the next few days, huh?
Extremely fortunate in this situation. After the bite, we consulted with reptile experts and venom experts. There's no anti-venom you can take for Gila monster bite. We monitored my body for hours at a time. We made sure that my heart rate was low. We monitored the swelling. We took photographs. This is some of the photographs here. As the hours went by,
Starting to swell up a little bit, isn't it?
so excruciating. I really just had to go into a mental state where I told myself, you can make it through this pain. It was the worst pain I had ever experienced, the throbbing, the squirming of my body, and of course the constant fear that is this only going to get worse, because as the venom started traveling up my arm into my shoulder, I didn't know at what point it was going to stop. And that's when I really started to get nervous.
Ooh,
It's so intense,
Yeah,
man.
it is so intense.
Have you ever just like been bitten something like that and just wanted to cry? Just
the Gila monster got me close, not from like fear, but like the pain that you can't stop.
Man.
You're like,
Fatigue.
I think I said to you at one point, I'm like, it might be better if we just chop my arm off. Because it came in these
Seriously.
waves that like, I kept my body relaxed. We went inside. I was just like pounding popsicles and like having conversations with people to try to take my mind off it. But the pain would come back in these surges where it was like you couldn't stop it. And when you could feel it coming on, you just knew that it was going to get worse and worse.
So are you just chilling in the hotel room after this, and is your crew like, hey, all right, buddy, good luck with that. We'll see you at the bar, huh?
No, they were actually.
Like, see you in the morning.
Actually,
let us know if
everybody.
you need anything. Just text us if that Gila monster shit gets more intense.
They
You
probably
can edit
should
that.
have, but no, everybody like immediately jumped into safety mode, and my wildlife biologist was making phone calls to venom experts all across, the United States, people that he
and
knew
they
in
said
Florida.
basically just ride it out.
They said you could go to the hospital. They
Thanks for
might
nothing.
give you a painkiller, but they're like, Coyote's tough. Just tell him to just sit there, man up, take
And
it.
that's the worst. That's the worst pain you've been in, the Gila monster?
100%. Yeah. Now they say it is like lava coursing through your veins. The pace at which the venom flows through is so slow, and you can't stop it. You can feel it actually like
you
burning
can't
your
tourniquet.
inside.
You don't want to localize it because that can cause
No,
problems.
you want to let it do what it's going to do. A lot of times people are like, oh, if you get bit by a rattlesnake, like,
Suck it out.
tie your leg off.
No.
That's going to make your heart work harder to pump the blood to that area. The venom's going to be there. You have to let your body fight it naturally.
Wow. But can't you have long-term problems with your heart and things? Or
And again, that's why venom all is based on how your body reacts to
Right.
it. And the venom from a Gila monster, you could see that it did have some hemotoxic qualities where it broke down the skin and the skin turned black and stuff like that. Rattlesnakes are much more potent though. Like a Western diamondback, and the hemotoxic properties of that venom will eat away at your
Hemotoxic,
flesh.
meaning a blood toxin.
Yeah, it kind of breaks down the red blood cells. Then we're talking
And your
about
body launches sort of a response, an immune response. Because I heard that the way you make venom, anti-venom, is that they would shoot rattlesnake venom, for example, into a horse. The horse, I guess, produces the antibodies, and that would be anti-venom that you would shoot in your own body.
And that's why it's so expensive, yeah?
I guess.
I'm not sure the 100% like the process of how they create different antivenoms, but yeah, whatever the science is behind it. I mean, you have people now that are actually sometimes taking venom orally. You can ingest venom.
Right.
Nobody should ever ingest venom unless you're like a trained professional. I'd never do it, but you can actually like take a shot of venom as long as it's not going into like a cut or an open wound. You can be okay. So those are the differences.
Well, that's how they build an
venom and
immunity
poison.
to the bite, don't they?
Yeah, a lot of people are experimenting with that, and there's some scientific research being done as to like is venom possibly going to cure some diseases and whatnot. And again, it's all how the individual's body reacts. You could be stung by a honeybee and go into anaphylactic shock. Whereas somebody like me is stung by a bullet ant, the stinger stuck in my arm, and all it did is swelled me up and was painful.
Well, don't quote me on this, but I believe Botox is botulism, which is a very potent poison that I think comes from the blowfish. Or one of
All
those
Botox
animals.
comes from the blowfish?
So Botox actually is, you'd have to look it up, Chin, but Botox is essentially something that is found in, I think, the blowfish. It's a botulism type
a lot of dead blowfish,
toxin.
sir.
Well, what the toxin does is it ends up paralyzing your face, the muscles in your face, and that's what Botox is.
Or it just puffs your face up like a blowfish. Depends how your body reacts, right?
Correct. Anyway, puffer fish.
Tetrodotoxin.
Ocean yeah, there you go. I guess.
Well, yeah, we were having a conversation the other night. Our marine expert, who's often with us when we do tide pool stuff, we were talking about because different types of sushi, and there is like a puffer fish or blowfish sushi that I guess you have to have. If it's prepared the wrong way, you can
you die right there.
Die from it.
My dad actually got super sick from it.
Really?
He was in the Navy and he was across seas and they ate something. He didn't eat that, but whoever was cutting it was associated with it.
Wow.
And he got so sick he can't eat sushi now. He can't even smell or be around it.
Wow.
I thought he was lying for sure, but
Yeah, there are certain things in the sea. You can eat most things in the sea, I guess, but there are certain things that, there's a blue snail that'll there's that box jellyfish, sea snakes.
what about jellyfish? You ever think about trying out the jellyfish thing?
Yeah, that's definitely coming in 2017. Plus, on top
Good
of
question,
that,
Brendan.
then we get to use one of the tests. One of the things I love to do is pee in a bottle. The crew doesn't know this. We did this for the fire ant stings. I had this bottle of pee that I've been saving all day, and Mark's like, "That's not real pee." I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is." I'm like, "You want to smell it?" And then we dump it all over my arms. Adds kind of like that.
Does it actually help?
It did in the moment with the fire ant stings, but I'll tell you what. The next day when my hands were swollen 3 times the size, and I had little white pustulates all over me. That was the worst sting situation I've ever been through. And do not mess with fire ants. They mean business. And for a month, my hands were swollen with those little white pustules. I had to wear gloves out in public everywhere I went because I kind of.
Well, it was funny because they stung you. All you were doing was minding your own business and being your hands were right there like giant snakes, but they were like, "Got to get off our hill right now."
Yeah, well, those fire ants, they build mounds unbelievably quickly, and, they are everywhere. And again, the reason we do an episode like that is because it's so easy for somebody to stumble upon a mound like that. They're not just ants running all over. It just looks like, ooh, this is a soft pile of dirt.
Yep.
So, your toddler may wander out there and be like, cool, I'm going to play with my dump trucks and bulldozers in this. And before you know it, they swarm so fast. My goal was to keep my hands in there for 60 seconds. I last 40 seconds maybe. Dang. It was so intense. I took about 300 stings in 40 seconds. And I have, adult skin. Imagine, a toddler getting swarmed by fire ants. So we wanted to show people, be aware that these are right there in your backyard and pay attention. Like you go out on a date for a picnic and you put down your picnic blanket in a fire ant mound, and that's going to be
an issue. What about soldier ants? Because when I was in Indonesia, they would talk about how sometimes, so we slept in, I guess these bungalows, and they were up on stilts, and you would put turpentine. You would paint the stilts with turpentine because that way, if soldier ants were coming through and they were hunting, they're gonna. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what they told us. They will swarm you and sting you almost in unison. You'll go into shock, and then they eat you. Or sometimes they're just foraging, so they'll cover you and just keep walking over you. I don't know, the science. Do you have any experience with soldier ants or army ants?
Not soldier ants yet, but one that's similar to the leafcutter ant, which we worked with in Costa
cool.
Rica. I don't know if you guys saw that episode where the leafcutter ant burrowed its head into my finger. Now, the leafcutter ants, you're right about the pheromone aspect. I don't think there are any ants that have ever eaten people. You'd have to be in a really bad situation to ever find yourself.
No, they definitely lied to you there, B. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, the ants aren't eating a grown man.
Don't quote me on that, but not that I know of.
But
anybody.
maybe it's the movies, but you hear these stories about them coming as they're coming across well, not even just movies, but documentaries where when they're hunting soldier ants, they blanket the forest floor and they will, anything in their path, they will eat. They will essentially cover and sting.
They will. And when it comes to the pheromones, whether it's hunting or it's a defense mechanism, those ants communicate with each other through chemical smells. So the leafcutter ant being the example that I'm experienced with. We went out and we filmed, the soldiers and the workers that were filming out in the field, and then we stumbled upon the nest. And that's another great example of an episode that completely shifted gears because we tried to do the leafcutter ant, tested it one way, and we were working with just some of the worker ants. And we were like, oh, these things can't break skin because everybody in Costa Rica are like, watch out for the leafcutters. They will eat through your skin. And we shot it and we're like, oh, cool. We're only ranking this as a 2 on the insect bite and sting ant, index. Sure. Then we stumbled upon the nest and we were like, whoa, this is crazy. These ants are bigger. I ended up picking one up just like, it just sliced through it was just a blood pouring everywhere. Mark's like, we're going to need to reshoot that scene. We're like, yes, we are. So we had to cut scene, reset it. And that's where you guys saw the episode. I still have the scars all over my fingers. That ant burrowed its head into my finger. Now that's a single ant, guys. So let's say you wandered into a nest and I don't know, you hurt yourself, you tripped and you fell and you got swarmed by these ants. They are so powerful. It could kill you if you were.
They're not venomous though, right?
No,
but they can
and they
bite
also
hard.
don't sting. Leafcutter ants don't sting, but they have these razor-like bulldog jaws that they bite and cut and they hold on. But with the army ants or something like that, there are species that bite and sting. So ants are just this incredible, versatile insect that can do so many things. It's pretty crazy.
God, man.
So I guess for you guys, it's constantly about coming up with the next idea because you're not linked to a Discovery Channel or National Geographic. So you guys just stay independent. Is that kind of your whole goal? Is not to kind of, because I think a lot of times you watch those shows like on Discovery Channel or the Crocodile, for example, and after a while he was forced to do stuff, right? Like they were constantly coming up with stuff. There's scripted stuff. But for you guys, it seems so real and it's your passion. And we talked a little bit about it before Brian sat down in here. It's also kid friendly. Like my son could, he's only 10 months, but Brian's kids could watch it and Brian will watch it. Everyone is on board on this.
That's right.
So for you, it's just about making more of that good content and just keep it on.
And getting the word out, right? I mean,
right.
It's
Because that's what I told. I said, they're out here in LA, and I said they have a jagillion views on YouTube, and it's just there's no one who goes, oh, that's stupid. That's not possible. Who does it? Everyone's down for animals, especially if you're knowledgeable.
And if you're getting bit by them.
Exactly. Like no one's going to be like, I can't watch that.
Yeah.
No, you're going to watch.
Yeah, we like seeing the confrontation. There's something so morbidly fascinating and strange about human beings because when all of us see a giant wasp, every one of us, I've always made this joke. A wasp can clear out a pool party. You see a wasp and people are like, I'm out of here. See you later. It's just crazy. They're not even part of the ecosystem. They're just put on the earth to sting a man for his sins.
There's no one who's like, well, a giant wasp? Nah, I'll stick around.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah, we've talked plenty about the yellow Japanese wasp.
The giant hornet?
The giant hornet. I don't know if you've seen when they kill 30,000 bees, 6 of them. I mean, those things are spaceships.
Mercenaries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's on the list. Don't worry.
You will be stung by. Okay. I'm very curious.
Most likely.
Yeah. but so that's fascinating to me, that the fact that we want to see whether or not you can confront something that we've all been afraid. And I think human beings almost have an instinctive fear of something that crawls with hair. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's a genetic memory. They always say that apes are terrified of snakes. And some people have an irrational phobia of snakes, and people say it might be our genetic memory. When we were apes, we were afraid of that. I mean, it would make sense, but certainly spiders, certain things really elicit in us terror.
Well, I think you use a really good term there, saying the word phobia. Oftentimes it is our phobias that drive us to, it's almost like when we go see a scary movie. You know, people want that suspense. They want to be put in that situation where it's like, okay, I know the adrenaline rush this is going to give me vicariously through watching this happen puts you on the edge of your seat. Now, what we've done with our channel, and we're so fortunate that we have such an incredible audience and people that do tune in and say, you know, you could look at it and be like, oh, this is just gimmicky, but it's not, because we have an educational spin, and not all the episodes are about me being bitten or stung, but sometimes you need that to bring people in, to put them on the edge of their seats, to be like, wow, he was stung by a bullet ant. And then you dig a little deeper, you're like, oh, but now he's hanging out with a baby reindeer. Like, we put out the bullet ant sting and a baby reindeer in the same week.
They'll hoof you.
They will, but they also love hugs too. You know, and they like to drink milk out of a bottle. And that's the thing that we're going for, is to give people this great umbrella of content that is both extreme but also cute and cuddly, and both educational and conservation based. And going back to the whole, you know, will we ever be with a network?
Yeah.
Not likely, because that's the wonderful thing that YouTube has allowed us, is they give us this creative freedom to come up with the vision that we have for the show. There's nobody looking over our shoulders saying, maybe you should have filmed it like that, or what if you wrote this voiceover script? And the thing is, a lot of people want to know, are your shows scripted? Absolutely not. The only scripting that happens is the voiceover script that I write in post-production, where we build these front and back end narratives to give you this bookend that we're trying to make something more cinematic than just a...
It's obvious it's not scripted when you're trying not to swear and you're going, oh, that's not, you don't write that.
Was that your idea, not to swear?
Well, the idea of not swearing is really just, I would never want my daughter to be on a YouTube channel and hear somebody dropping F-bombs. Like, I'd be like, whoa.
Do you have kids?
I do. I have an 8.5-year-old daughter. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and she loves animals. She's an incredible inspiration for me to be out there I think about her and I think about myself when I was her age, and it's like, I loved animals, right? And I know, and this is our one constant. And again, I'm just fortunate to be in this position to be the guy that's talking to you about the animals, but people love animals. They're the constant. It's tried and true. And if you can see an animal, whether it's something you're scared of or it's bizarre, or it's something you love and it's cute and cuddly, you're always going to show up for it.
Is your daughter like, no, Dad, don't do the tarantula hawk?
She's hilarious because she was with us on location in Arizona when we filmed both the velvet ant and the tarantula hawk, and she's like, Dad, she's like, really? And it's funny, she calls me, it's my constipated look when I'm like on the ground making those noises, and I'm like, you know what constipated means, right? She's like, oh yeah. She's like, that's what it looks like you are, Dad. You know, it's funny. So she gets a kick out of it, but she also gets this great education, learning not to be afraid of these animals, but learning to just respect them from a safe distance. Dad does these things so he can teach other kids about being safe in the environment. It's okay to go out there and explore in nature. You know, stay on the trail if you're in the metro park, or explore your backyard and just, you know, kids have iPhones these days. You know what those iPhones also have? Cameras and the zoom in function. So you don't need to get that close to a Gila monster. You can stand 10 feet away, zoom in, and you're going to get a shot probably that's as good as what we're getting.
The problem with all of this, is that I get this feeling that I have to, like, before I die, I have to have the Coyote Peterson experience. I got to put my arm.
I feel like we can go today. We can have an adventure today if you guys want
to.
I feel like
I'm busy today.
Do you deal with this all the time? Like, because I feel like people watch it and go, oh, I would do that. I'm like, would you?
Yeah.
Would you? Because same thing when people go, I could beat that guy up in the octagon. Could you? Would you actually do it? If someone gave you a contract, would you jump in there and do it?
You know what I would love?
I feel like every male goes, I would do that. I guarantee you, if that tarantula hawk is in that container going, bounce off the walls, you would go, forget this.
I'm already nervous thinking
I would not do it.
And by the way, what's funny is that you chose to do the fleshy, the kind of like tender part of your forearm. Mm-hmm. For me, if you were to say, Brian, there are two places there's no way I'm going to get stung. For whatever reason, the end of my big toe and my fingertip.
Right.
And of course, certain areas.
The neck would hurt too.
The neck would hurt. The neck would hurt.
Your finger?
I'll take the neck over my toe.
Finger.
I'll take the neck over my toe.
I'll take the finger all day.
Not me.
The neck? Are you kidding me? A tarantula hawk on your neck?
I guess that would be bad.
Maybe we should shoot this episode. Like, we can get on a plane tonight and go to Arizona and find
it ain't happening.
Would you do it?
No, that's not for me.
It's not.
I don't do well with
because
needles
they
and
probably have
insects.
a broker, a tarantula hawk broker.
Yeah.
If you guys can find a tarantula hawk broker, let me know. That would save us a lot of time and pain and agony in Arizona.
Brian knows the guy, yeah.
I know a guy, but I wonder.
Do you
if,
get that all the time though? Guys going, dude, I want to get bit by an alligator. I would love to do that.
Not that often. A lot of people that will be like, "Oh, I think I could do that," and it's not that we
I'm
would
not
ever
saying
want-
I could.
Right.
I'm just saying that I have there's a nagging. I feel the challenge clearing its throat in the back of my
Is it like the
mind.
Mount Everest thing?
No, I've
Where you
never
wanna
had an
plank it
interest.
up there?
That's a very good question. It's not even that. It's maybe
Can you
it's
handle
because
it?
maybe it's because I'm intensely afraid of it. It feels like it'd be so uncomfortable, but I just want to do it. I would almost do it in private to see if I could. I kind of want to. I want to experience that bright, brilliant pain.
Yeah. Well, maybe we could set up some sort of like a tour, almost like an amusement park ride. We'll take you to Costa Rica. We'll get you stung by a bullet ant. You know, we can market this. Maybe you never know.
Listen, if we can make money off it.
We call it the bullet ant challenge. Like we would oftentimes joke about it. We're like, man, maybe we should just start like this bullet ant challenge thing. Where like, you know, we set up.
I would like to do this. I would like to personally. This sounds so stupid, but I would like to have an interview set up with celebrities, and both of us get stung by a bullet ant, and we have to conduct an interview.
Yeah, that's
like
you guys let me know when you're ready to do that.
You're taking the idea from Hot Ones with the chicken
I am.
wings. We get stung with horrible stuff.
I'm going a little further.
The only problem, I don't know, man.
Come on,
It'd
B,
be
we can make
fun.
money.
See,
I'm not even worried about money.
What I love the most is not that I would want people to be bitten or stung, but it's taking people out on adventures. Like when we do media things, like yesterday we were out with ABC Nightline, and we had so much fun taking the camera team and the reporter out into the wild with us. We caught this crazy big octopus, but at some point taking somebody that has no affiliation with the wilderness. Like I would love, because I'm from Cleveland, get LeBron James out on an adventure someday. Be like, LeBron, we're going to head off into the Everglades. And we're going to go catch an alligator just to see what LeBron would do in the Everglades,
That's a great
let
idea.
alone to be like, all right, I'd be like, LeBron, you want to jump that alligator? Or want me to do it? And just have him be like, not
That'd
a
be
chance
awesome.
in the
Yeah,
world.
that'd be awesome.
Stuff like that where it's like, somebody that's completely out of their element. And, Bear Grylls has done it really well with like his Running Wild with Bear Grylls series and stuff like that. And just taking, people out of the element. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a celebrity. It's so much fun to take people into the environment and educate them about the things they never knew were there. Like yesterday when we did the tide pools with Nightline, and it was like, they were like, it's a bunch of rocks and water. Are we really going to find stuff? We found so many animals. Then we caught the biggest octopus that we'd ever seen. It was my best catch of the year so far.
Where's this at?
Right in San Pedro here. Yeah, I mean, we caught an enormous octopus.
How big?
It was like this big. I
love
Smart. It was smart too, aren't they?
they're incredibly
so cool.
smart and tough to catch. I saw this thing just off the edge, and I was like, roll the cameras, and I just like lunged my arm into the water, grabbed this thing. Now you can be bitten. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, but you can't let this octopus escape because you will then forever be known on Nightline as the guy that couldn't catch the octopus. But sure enough, safely got it up out of the water. It was inking, it was suction cupping, like it was really, really cool.
Wow.
And
It
then
was
did you
really
guys
cool.
make calamari after it?
Absolutely not.
No,
No,
I'm
we
just
gave
kidding.
that
I'm just
octopus
kidding.
a big hug and
Yeah.
said thanks for hanging out, and then
That's
watched
cool,
it
man.
disappear
In
back
Greece,
into the
you can see as a kid. I lived in Greece, and you can see on the rocks they would catch octopus, and you would see the fishermen beating the octopus against rocks because that's how you tenderize it.
Dark story.
It's how you tenderize it.
Oh, yeah,
a poor
sure.
octopus.
So octopus is a delicacy. People eat it all the time in the Mediterranean countries, in Greece and Italy. But as we learn more about octopus, they are highly intelligent. They can even read, they can even read somebody's face, whether the person has a face that wants to do them harm,
to hurt them?
or just see them. Yeah. So
I had one go on my hand in Hawaii. This guy, we were snorkeling, and he was a guide, and he pointed down. We have our mask on, and he puts like a little stick in there, and this octopus comes out, and he goes, "Put your hand down." I'm like, really? And it wrapped around my arm. I couldn't believe just how strong, like mythical it was. It's like, no, this isn't like a normal thing, man. Like it's like a unicorn of the sea.
Yes.
It was so cool.
Yep. It's
It was so
and
cool.
you bring that up like with their intelligence and them being able to sense who they're working with. And one question we often get is people will write to us sometimes and be like, did you sedate those animals? There's no way that animal's that calm. What people don't realize is that animals have these basic instincts. And if it's something that we go into the environment and we catch to get in front of the cameras, that animal's thinking, okay, if I've been caught, there's no teeth, no claws, I'm not being injured. I don't know what's happening. It's just a strange experience. A lot of times I try to connect with the animal and I'll talk to it gently and calmly and handle it gently to let it know that it's not going to be injured. Yes, we're getting you in front of a camera. We're talking. You don't have any idea what's going on, but they do realize that, like, okay, this seems relatively safe. And we let the animal kind of say to us when it's had enough. And you can feel that through the muscle tension in the body and the energy. And then, you know, I'll say to Mark and the crew, like, cool, guys, it's time to get the wrap up. This guy's ready to go back into the environment. And then you get the be brave, stay wild. We'll see you on the next adventure. And the animal's released. And we take a lot of care and precision to make sure that we do not overstress out an animal or ever put it in a situation where the animal's going to be injured or anything like that. We let the animal run the episode.
Was Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, a big kind of inspiration for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I grew up on all of it because my parents grew up watching Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. So I used to watch those reruns with my dad when I was little and was like, man, it'd be so cool to have an animal show. And then, you know, Steve and Jeff Corwin and Jack Hanna. I also watched a show called Wild America with Marty Stauffer that, you know, it was one of my favorites because Marty was a filmmaker. And, you know, my background is filmmaking. You know, myself and Mark and a lot of our team, like, we went to school to make movies.
I was going to ask you what your initial, that's what I was going to ask you, what your initial goal was.
Yeah.
Did you know, as opposed to, so you kind of fell into this. I love those stories.
I was always a behind the camera guy. My talents really are in writing and directing and holding that camera. But we realized when we start developing the show, it's like, you can't find another guy to do what it is that I do. So I have to give those responsibilities over to Mark and the crew and say, okay, guys, let's just nail this thing. And I'm going to be the one presenting the animals.
But you wanted to do, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you wanted to do film and tell stories. Like you wanted to write film or TV, and it wasn't about animals. You kind of fell into this.
Right. Yeah. You know, I mean, I could tell you the background story of like wanting to make it in the independent film world, as well as a lot of starry-eyed kids, especially from Central Ohio. I mean, I'm going to make it in this industry. And, you know, not to say that we weren't successful in what that was. We just never had a deal that closed that allowed us to get that level. But that was the universe saying, nope, we're going to steer you in this direction. And then we came upon, you know, the animal stuff. And, you know, that's been a passion of mine since I was, you know, a little kid. And to now be given that opportunity to be the guy that gets to talk about animals, yet still being the filmmaker. And that's the thing that's so much fun. You know, people think, oh, he's just a show host. I write the voiceover scripts. I've done a lot of the editing. Now we have a full-time editor, Chris, who's, you know, actually taught me what I knew. And then when we were able to bring Chris on full-time, it's like we have this great working synergy with our team that we're all friends that have come up, you know, working the Ohio independent film world together. And we've landed on YouTube, which gives us this unbelievable
This is what's
ability.
so amazing, man.
We make mini movies every single week is how we look at it.
You don't
So
need
cool.
infrastructure anymore, right?
No, you don't need a
you
producer in your ear saying this. You don't need a big executive
Studio.
signing off on it because it would. I can see a big network going, yeah, we'll do it, a season or something like that. I guess you're going to get attacked by things, right? It's like no, it's more than that.
Yeah,
Right.
You're
Well,
right.
for us, the thing with YouTube that, again, is so incredible is we're making these mini movies with these beginning, middle, and narrative structure. We love the voiceover. We love putting the right music to the right shots. And then we get to release 2 episodes a week. And we've been doing it for almost 2.5 years now. And the audience
That's amazing.
has
That
grown to know that if there's one constant we can rely on, it's that Brave Wilderness is going to have an episode Tuesday and Friday. And like for us, like I think of
Consistency.
myself
That's
as
a
a little
lot.
kid, like,
Consistency.
man, if I woke up on a Tuesday morning or knowing when I'm going to get home from school today, I've got an episode to watch when it's
But
a
we
Tuesday.
do this podcast twice a week the same way.
4 years, never missed an episode.
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
And but to actually have to shoot stuff and come up with content twice a week.
And edit and cut.
That's
and
a lot.
Find animals and
It's this never ending cycle. We call it the YouTube wave, but we love it at the same time because, you know, I'm not a surfer, but I understand, you know, when you catch that crest, how far can
Ride
you go
it,
on
man.
it? And for us, we feel like, well, we've caught a good wave. We don't know how long the wave's going to go. And as long as we can keep releasing the content and the audience continues to, you know,
relate and
Yep.
connect.
accept it with open arms, and we got a good shot at going
Has
for a while
there ever
here.
been a time where like we are fresh out of ideas and you're just like, whoa, earthworm! Look at this vicious animal.
this
Wow.
thing,
No, but
if you eat enough of these, they can
We
be
got
toxic.
a snail here.
I'll tell you what, we'll find a way to make an earthworm interesting. And
Yeah,
that's the thing that
I
we
bet.
love about the world of animals is that there's always a way to really paint an animal in this incredible, fascinating light. And that's the thing is, again, the constant is the animals. And people write to us, they're like, when are you going to do a lightning bug episode? And we're like, lightning bugs? Well, wait a minute. We could go around and fill an entire jar with lightning bugs. And that's something that's safe for kids. So we're like, there's always something.
The funny thing is you're
in
talking
charge of telling stories.
Yes, and what's funny is that even me as an adult, I'm literally like on the tip of my tongue. I'm like, hey, when are you going to get to scorpions?
Oh yeah, well we've done some great scorpion ones. I've free-handled the most dangerous scorpion in the United States. That was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and if that had stung you, what happens?
I would be in pain for about 4 weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah, like it's what's crazy about the bark scorpion is that their venom. There are very few cases, if any, of people that have died from a bark scorpion sting, and that more has to do again with how your body reacts. Maybe
so scorpions, even though the scorpions generally will not kill you, but
no, not in the United States.
And the bigger ones have less of a impact. Right?
Usually,
the
so the giant
less
desert hairy scorpion, which is a monster. I mean, that's not something you want to find in your boot.
It looks like a crab.
Yeah, and I've been stung by that one. The giant desert. Actually, it's the first sting I ever did was the giant desert.
I sure
hairy
haven't
scorpion.
seen it.
The bigger they are, though, is that correct? Typically, the less powerful those
depends what region of the world you're in. You would never want to just assume in America, yes, but you would never just want to assume, oh, this scorpion is only this venomous. There are some species of scorpions that can kill you, but the bark scorpion in the United States, or really North America down through Mexico, is the most dangerous scorpion. And it's just this dull, constant aching. Like, you know, I know people who've been stung, they've had their arms in like a sling for weeks because they haven't been able to move their arm.
So what do you do about that? Can you go to the doctor and can they?
Yeah, they'll give you a pain medication. There's no anti-venom for like
Where'd you say that was at?
In Arizona, there is some development
Arizona
that's being done. Again, yeah. A lot of things that can
more reasons not to go there.
No more live shows in Arizona.
Sheriff Arpaio and
but again, keep in mind, not like for whether we're looking at the giant desert hairy scorpion here. Now, those pinchers that you have up front, those are crushers. I mean, that can hold on to a bug, and it's going to inflict various number of stings to kill its prey. But with a bark scorpion, they have smaller pinchers, so they need that venom to be potent enough that once it hits its prey, boom, prey is mine. You know, they're not trying to fight for something.
When you got stung by the giant hairy scorpion, what was? Give me the comparison on a scale of 1 to 10. We had about.
Is that what
5?
you guys do? 1 to 10 on the pain?
Sometimes, and this was the first one. The big thing with the first sting with the scorpion, I mean, that knocked me backwards onto my butt more as a startle than anything. And that was one of those instances where it's like people are so afraid of scorpions. We were trying to prove to people, like, don't squish a scorpion if you see it. Just let the scorpion do what the scorpion's doing. Or if you find it in your house, the best way to get rid of a scorpion is to just put a cup over it and slide a piece of paper underneath the cup, take the scorpion outside and get rid of it.
Yeah.
They're helping you. They're eating the pest bugs that are around your house.
And they're not going to sting you unless you threaten them.
I've free-handled a scorpion, but scorpions, I'll be honest, guys, they do creep me out a little bit. All those legs and those pinchers and the stinger. It's like it can grab onto you. We went centipede. Centipede.
You know what I did?
Centipede is the one.
Get out of here without
Apologize.
the centipede.
No, because I got to get a couple things off my chest.
Those things are scary.
I need to hear.
So centipede, and then I got one, the black widow. Okay, let's go with the centipede.
Let's talk. Look up giant desert centipede.
Because now again, we have to delineate. There are centipedes in Asia that probably are different than the ones in America. There are scorpions. What's the most poisonous?
I like
scorpion?
how our centipedes are the first ones that pop up when you search it on Google too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Coyote Peterson.
Look at that thing. Look at that.
Here's
those are horrifying to me.
Here's the thing that weirds me out.
God,
See,
Coyote,
there's me.
Get it off your body, man. What are you doing, bro? I know.
So that's me handling one. But the nerves that it took to do that, because you see all those little legs, those have these little hooks.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So that thing doesn't just you don't just wipe it off. Like, you have to grab that and rip it off your body. And those fangs are so powerful. Now, they will bite a mouse, hold on, inject that venom, and wrap their body around it. So when you think about something like that, taking down a lizard or a mouse or a bird or your hand, like it's a nightmare. With legs, pretty much.
Oh my God!
And you had no issues. It just crawled and then went about its business.
Because it's not going to eat you.
Oh, right? It's definitely not going to go after you. But
I'm saying when you were handling it, it just did its thing.
Well, I did what's called heading it, where I gently pin the head and then pick it up and be able to hold it, because I could only free handle it for a couple seconds because I was just too nervous that like if it starts going, they're fast. And if it's like it was chill and it was just hanging out, and then if it's like, oh, I'm gonna go up your sleeve, like you're in a lot of trouble because you can't just be like, ooh, don't do that. Like you'd have to grab it, and the second you do,
bite.
It's gonna rear around and then it's gonna sink those fangs.
Now it's gonna bite you. It's got fangs. That's what, like a tarantula.
Yep.
Now, how bad is that sting? Do we know?
I have heard, well, it's technically a bite, and I have heard that it is one of the worst bites you can receive. I know someone that was bitten, a tough dude who's been bitten by rattlesnakes, and has told me that this is, Coyote, don't do it. Don't get bitten by the same one. Now, a lot of the audience says, come on, Coyote, when are you gonna do this one? Honestly,
it's a venom.
Well, it's a venom.
Or a poisoner, I should say.
It's a venom.
Okay,
it's a venom.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so we know that if it does sting you, it's going to be. That's the guy who's been bitten by rattlesnakes saying, "Don't do it."
I've been told that it is worse than a rattlesnake.
And the fans demand you do it.
Oh, don't start that rumor. A lot of people have asked for it, but yes, I mean, the audience, it probably would do relatively well, I guess, if I were to be bitten.
So creepy.
I couldn't.
You do have to draw a line somewhere. You have to draw a line.
Kids.
Yeah.
The centipede is a horrifying animal, and are they around here in LA? Probably.
Not the ones that are this big. There's centipedes everywhere, and there are different kinds throughout the world. The one that lives in the Southwest is one of the larger species, but there are some in like South America that can be, a foot and a half long. I mean, that's one that will, man, you want to spend an agonizing week on a couch, like get bit by one of those, it's like, but again, drawing a line where it's like, where we ultimately want this show to go is where people are more fascinated with the bizarre than they are being bitten and stung by things.
That speak for yourself, because when you start talking about centipedes, I'm literally holding my own body. Those are scorpions and centipedes are the creepiest things.
Centipedes to get you.
Yeah.
What about obviously here? What about the black widow? Like I've had one in my house.
Yeah. Well, the thing with the black widow that you have to keep in mind is there are nomadic spiders and then there are ambush spiders, and the black widow will build a web and hang out in the corner of your window waiting for bugs to come to it. That when people are bitten by, Scarlett Johansson is Black Widow.
Yep,
can we build a web and get her to hang out?
Yeah.
But you have a spider like this. When people are bitten by black widows, it's oftentimes on accident. So they like to build their webs when they're not out hunting in a dark, cool environment. So imagine your garage, and they build it in a place where they're hidden. So you go out there and you lift something up and you put pressure on the spider on accident. You touch it. That spider's thinking, don't squish me. My only defense is to give a bite to send you off. Now, it's not the spider's fault that they have, a potent enough venom that, it causes people to be terrified of them. But there are very few cases of people dying from black widow bites. It's usually like an infant or somebody that has a heart condition that has a negative reaction. Am I going to be bitten by a black widow spider? Not likely.
Really? I feel like that one wouldn't be. I mean, it'd be cool, and there's obviously this kind of
that's one where it may be more worthwhile for me to just free handle it and to show you that a black widow doesn't want to bite you.
They're so cool looking.
They really are. It's almost more interesting to admire this spider in its natural environment than it is to be like, and then again, this is not something that has a stinger. The bite from that, you're not going to see that on camera.
Right.
It's like people wanting me to get sprayed by a skunk. Yeah, that would be hugely entertaining. But let me tell you what you can't smell through your screen is me stinking like a skunk.
You're right.
What about a porcupine?
I've done the porcupine. That was actually the first one we did. I got quilled by a porcupine.
Oh, he got quilled up.
That was legit.
He got quilled up.
You didn't see that one?
Oh, man. He's all quilled up.
I've seen most of them. I haven't seen the porcupine.
Well, the porcupine was the first one. That's actually where we were like, people like to see me getting bitten and stung and quilled by things. Yeah, because we never intended for me to get quilled by a porcupine. We're actually filming the porcupine episode, and it was a porcupine that was rescued and in captivity. And we said to the porcupine handlers, well, what would happen if I get quilled? They're like, well, nothing. It would be painful. I was like, well, how do we go about this? And
they're so cute.
You just touch the guard. They are. Look at them.
They're so cute.
It's a little junior.
You might want to see later after this what happens to dogs when they decide to eat a porcupine.
We have a friend that was just had a dog quilled by a porcupine. It's really, really sad. It's really painful for those animals. And believe it or not, porcupine can take down a grizzly bear because eventually with those quills lodged, and what happens is the barbs are reversed and those quills work their way in there.
All quilled up. And
you see that one in the top of my finger there? That one had hit a nerve, and I had my arm, my hand was like positioned, and I couldn't move it until we actually got that one
it's
out.
Acupuncture by nature.
A porcupine's a cute animal, man.
It's a cute animal, but you got to. I
like
be careful.
a nice fresh skunk too.
Yeah, I do too. But you got.
I really do, man. I think skunks are cute.
Yep. Skunkies
Porcupines are cute.
You can have a pet skunk. I've seen people who
again. Why would you do
degland?
That? Why would you do that?
Oh, you got to degland.
You have to degland a skunk.
Otherwise,
it'd be the stinkiest pet ever.
You have to.
Got to do
Well,
You have to take out
skunks
the-
are
the glands
mustelids,
and-
which are a member of the weasel family. So they all have these stinky glands, as I call them sometimes, kid friendly term. But a badger, a wolverine, a pine marten, a skunk, they all have a
Even
similar
beavers.
smell.
My friend, Steve Ranella, who is a hunter and also a conservationist, and he said, "Smell that." And I smelled a patch of dirt near a bank, and it smelled like something I'd never smelled. And he goes, "That's a beaver."
A beaver smell. You said Wolverine too?
Wolverine was crazy. Did you? I don't know if you guys saw the Wolverine episode.
I've
It's
gone
a
down
mini
that rabbit
movie.
hole. Gone down that rabbit hole about the Wolverine. They
Yeah.
are a mysterious but very powerful little animal.
What were
and
you
they're
going
not
to say
afraid
about
of
the
anything.
Wolverine though?
Well, it was the longest episode we'd ever done. It was a mini movie, and it was a passion project for all of us to be able to work with a Wolverine. And we had to go all the way to Alaska to do it. And the only person that we know of who has successfully done Wolverine conservation in captivity is a guy named Steve Crochet, who's one of just the most amazing people I've ever worked with. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who's in touch with nature. Steve Crochet is on a whole nother level.
Is he just all about Wolverines?
He's all about just all animals. He has this amazing sanctuary up in Haines, Alaska that, you know, and people can go and visit and see these animals. And he's so connected. It's unbelievable. I learned so much from Steve. It was crazy because we showed up and we're like, yeah, well, we want to work with the Wolverine. He's like, you mean you want to photograph the Wolverine? We're like, nope, I need to pal around with the Wolverine. We put him on the spot. It was so cool because we made an episode and he ended up being a part of it. And he was just this amazing character. And some people were like, is this guy for real? He's so natural. All of his expressions and everything that he taught me.
He's a character.
He really is. And this is just Steve. And, you know, he had me walking around barefoot for 2 days. And ultimately what it broke down to was 2 days of me learning from him how he interacts with Wolverines. And I say convinced, but we kind of proved to him that, like, okay, we'll let you get up close with the Wolverine. I wasn't even allowed to see the animal for 2 days.
It's dangerous, yeah? Like Wolverine.
It's imagine being stuck in a tornado with jaws and one of the most powerful bite forces and claws. Like, you know, that's where the X-Men character comes from, those famous
Correct.
claws,
Yeah.
because a Wolverine will attack a grizzly bear.
And they're about 40 pounds.
They're about 40 pounds. It's like a golden retriever on steroids. Yeah, it's crazy.
Did you have any no issues? Like it was all good?
Well, ultimately, we got me into an enclosure with a Wolverine off of a harness. So this is myself and Mark on the camera and a slab of cow ribs, right? So there was this whole
Gotta have a
process that
cow
I had
rib.
to go. A cow rib.
I like ribs.
Gotta
They're
have
good, right? But man, you take a 40+ pound slab of cow ribs and play tug of war with a Wolverine, and that Wolverine dragged me across the ground.
Really?
Wow.
Oh yeah,
That's strong?
Oh yeah, you have to pay attention. Then it gets to a point where the Wolverine's like, I'm done.
All
Like,
done
this
with these.
Yeah, well, and then of course we have to listen to Steve. And when Steve was like, "Oh, you got to get out of the enclosure," the Wolverine got a little rowdy at one point.
Did he?
Steve let it get close, and I had to convince Steve, let it get close, let it get close. You know, I've worked, did an ocelot episode, which was a wild ocelot right out of the jungle. I've worked with a grizzly bear, I've worked with
You
bobcats.
say
and
wild
badgers.
ocelot. You talking about a sloth?
No,
No,
ocelots are like
wild
a
cat,
small,
like a little
they're
jungle cat.
small
Oh,
jungle cat.
yes.
They look like little leopards.
That's right.
That was hands down the greatest animal encounter we've ever had. You go your whole life and never seen an ocelot, yet we managed to. People think like, oh, did you guys bring that ocelot out there? That is 100% a wild ocelot.
You saw a wild ocelot. They're so elusive.
They are, and this one came out. I mean, you hear paws going through the underbrush in the jungle, and like a jungle cat shows up, and you just kind of like in the moment, like we weren't planning to film an ocelot episode. Obviously, we were looking for eyelash vipers, and Mark and the crew, they're like, dude, we got to go straight into ocelot.
I've seen the
here.
eyelash viper in Costa Rica.
Aren't they beautiful?
They are, because they sit on a tree, and
Oh,
they
wow,
call them
he's
the kiss
cool.
of death, because they'll kiss you. They'll kiss you right in their face.
He's really
yeah.
cool.
Gorgeous. I've seen.
You did not see one of these in the wild.
I
sir.
have no. I've seen people that had pet ocelots in this country.
Yeah,
and
It's usually a mix.
lynxes. You can get those.
Well, the thing that a lot of, and there are the right people having wildcats as pets, being sanctuaries for people
Silly.
that have rescued the animals from people that have gotten them as pets. The big thing that people don't realize is that that's not a house cat, guys.
No.
Like, this thing is a wild, free animal that wants to roam around. And if you put it in a house with a nice leather couch, that's a giant chew toy and scratch pad for something like this. But
so much like it is a cat, but
yeah,
not a cat guy.
when we were working with the ocelot, we did have to be extremely careful because, I let the ocelot do what the ocelot wanted to do. I mean, there were points where like it was kind of like chewing on the back of my neck, and you're thinking, oh wow, like that's
the
how
wild
that's
ocelot,
how,
and was that tame around you?
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did you?
right place, right time, and just being really calm around
Catnip.
the animal. Now, we would never recommend if you saw an ocelot to try to be pals with an ocelot, but given what we do, we gauged the situation. The ocelot got close. It was interacting with the cameras. It was attacking the microphones. And then it just got to the point where I ultimately ended up taking off, I wear wigwam socks, right? And we were like, you know, it'd be cool. Like you play with your cat like a toy. We're like, what do we got? Take your sock off and let's see if the ocelot wants to play. And it just turned into this magical, you know, hour and a half long situation where we played tug of war with an ocelot.
Can we see this on? Is this online anywhere?
Yeah, we have one of the episodes is called Ocelot Attack, which is not a real attack, but it was a playful attack and it was really fun. But the other one was like Ocelot Steals My Socks, I think was the episode, which we had so much content we couldn't make it one episode.
Where's the location?
It's in Costa Rica. On the west coast of Costa Rica.
Look at this. Look at this. Mm-hmm. And this thing is wild, and it somehow wasn't afraid of you.
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
It also destroyed a microphone. That's something.
It looks like it's probably
cool
is it a baby? Is it a?
It is. It was a youngster, about 4.5 months old at the time.
Wow.
And, you know, these are actually shots that we had, like, you know, we're out looking for other stuff. And it was a difficult episode to cut because when the ocelot, you know, arrived, like it wasn't just like we weren't ready for it, you know, and that's when you just go with the flow.
What time?
It was about 11 o'clock at night.
That's
He's
magical.
so cool
That is
looking.
magical.
Mm-hmm.
That really is magical. I mean, that's your pet right there.
Yeah, I'd love to see you mix it up with a panther.
No, you don't want to do that.
I mean, maybe at some point,
Not
like,
the jaguar.
you know, not
The
well,
jaguar?
Well, the thing is, the thing with cats that, you know, people oftentimes ask me, like, what's an animal that you would be really cautious working around? And it's cats, because cats, they're intelligent, whether it's your house cat or it's a wild cat. They'll change the situation when they feel like changing. And that's where you have to be really, really careful. And, you know, these animals are incredibly powerful. And to work with something like a lion or a tiger or even something like a mountain lion or a bobcat, you have to be extremely careful. That animal decides that it's no longer happy in this situation.
Right.
And
Game over.
It can be very, very quickly. So, you know, again, you can see this is a young ocelot. You know, a lot of people have been like, go back to where you saw this and see if you could encounter it again. Honestly, the size the ocelot would be now, which would be full grown, I would not be comfortable interacting with it like this because it's just simply not safe. Those claws are so sharp. One playful swipe even, and like you can you lose your face.
You ever messed around with a hippo?
No, not a hippo yet, although we would love to do a hippo episode. They're incredibly
You can do a hippo
dangerous.
episode?
Well, not where I'd be bitten by a
They'll
hippo
kill
or get
you.
dangerously
Well, no, I'm
close
not
to
talking
him,
about a
but-
giant mama. Let's get the little baby hippo.
No, because where
just
baby
put our
is,
fingers in
where
his nose.
baby is, mama is nearby.
Maybe
we can
interacting
single
with it,
them out.
but I would love to get the chance to go out in an environment where we had the right precautions taken, where we were getting the cameras extremely close to
Yeah, but
hippos.
you be careful
I love
of the
a
hippo
hippo,
because make sure you're in a a destroyer ship. Make sure you're in a military ship because those things will take your boat down.
They will.
Now, they say it's the most deadliest animal in the world.
That is, you know, I don't know if it's the deadliest.
Water
but
buffalo
they,
and
They're saying
say-
it kills more people than anything else. I guess just because there's such a large animal, and if someone goes, it's very territorial.
you get between them and
or
the
if
water, I
if
guess.
a boat goes around, it just murks the boat. Like, have you seen that video of a guy's trying to get away from the hippo, and the hippo's underwater? The guy's going, I don't know, 30, 40 miles an hour, and the hippo's cruising underwater and comes out trying to get
They're
him.
territorial. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you know, you think about crocodiles being something
Right
dangerous
there,
because
that
it's
top
prehistoric.
one. Watch this.
This is so insanely scary.
You want to see the El Hippo?
By the way, guess what they're related to? Whales.
Well, watch this.
Their closest cousin is the
Is
whale.
that true, Coyote?
Dude, look at how fast this thing is
Look at
swimming.
this.
Are you kidding me? Look at
That's
how
what
fast.
nightmares are made
You
of.
see the weight.
You do.
Whoa, dude.
How cool is a hippo?
See, that's the shot that I would like to get right
Dude,
there.
look at how fast. Oh my God, that thing is coming at you.
You've never seen that, B?
I
How crazy is
have, and
that?
I forgot about it. That was a long time ago. That's no joke.
I love a hippo, man.
See, I'd love to
It's
be in
crazy how
that position
dangerous they are.
presenting like, Mark, make sure you're rolling. And I'm like, the hippo's coming right at us right now. This is crazy. As long as it didn't flip the boat.
Well, you're not out swimming that thing, apparently.
No, that thing's faster than that boat is practically.
Because it's
That's
weird to me when you hear how
nuts.
dangerous they are. I'm like, what the big tusk is killing people or just
It's
trampling
the
people?
massive power in that bite force. They can open those jaws up so wide. I mean, you know, a crocodile is dangerous because a crocodile is an opportunistic feeder. But a male hippo, a bull, is just like, you know, a bull in a pasture with cows. Like it's defending its territory. It's defending its
It'll
lady
bite you in
friends.
half.
And it's defending its territory.
I always think it's interesting. It's obviously always sad, but you know, like that little boy at Disney World who got attacked by the crocodile and was eaten, alligator, or you see someone in an enclosure, maybe in a zoo, and they fall into they jump into the enclosure where it's a tiger and the tiger kills them. Everyone's up in arms. It's like, well, that's an alligator doing alligator things.
Yeah.
That's a tiger doing what it's supposed to do, man. Or like, did you see the video where the gorilla, where the child fell in with the gorilla and they actually took out the gorilla? A lot of experts said that the gorilla wasn't going to harm the child, but obviously humans come first, so they take out the gorilla.
Right.
Are you like anti-zoo guy? SeaWorld, obviously, they have their demons. But
I mean, I don't take much of a political stance. I mean, the experts in those situations make the decisions that they feel are best for either the animal or, the person that's unfortunately ended up in that instance. And, when you're talking about something like an alligator versus an animal in captivity, when you're in an environment that has alligators, just the rule of thumb is to always be aware of your environment, and I certainly can't speak on behalf of zoos or anything like that. I mean, I know everybody always takes the most care and precaution necessary so that, people can see animals. And it's just unfortunate things happen, but unfortunate things happen in all industries every single day. It's sad when
the exception.
It's just interesting how we have a fascination with things that bite, things that are dangerous, and things that are cute. And I feel like all the other animals are either food or just we ignore the shit out of it.
Right.
It's like,
well, and the real goal from our perspective that we take with Brave Wilderness is not to have a political stance on things with animals. Our goal is to educate people about animals, and especially when it comes to the next generation of animal lovers and explorers, to get them excited about animals so that they can make their own choices as to whether or not they want a career in what this is, or do you want to visit a zoo? Do you want to visit a museum? Do you want to go to the Metro Park? Like, there's so many opportunities for people to get outside nowadays. We love that people are watching our content on their smart device, but we're always encouraging people to get outside. Mom, Dad, take me out to the park so I can go see an animal.
I also think the huge thing is that when people like you kind of create a personal experience with an animal for kids, they're more likely to be sympathetic to conservation projects. You know, one of the biggest things one of the biggest threats to a lot of animals, wild animals like tigers and bears and stuff, is the black market in essentially phony medicines. So a lot of people say that gallbladder, rhino tusk is an aphrodisiac, tiger bones are an aphrodisiac, gallbladder for a bear is good for cancer. And so there's a huge trade in that business in Vietnam, and there's a huge market in China for it. And the more we can educate ourselves and get the great thing about YouTube is that everybody watches this stuff. I guarantee you've got fans in a lot of different countries.
We do, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it kind of the value there is to kind of get people to realize that a lot of this superstition is detrimental.
It's education.
It's education.
Yeah, right. Well, I know a big goal with our brand, and we've been fortunate to have the leaps and bounds that we've made over the course of 2016. And at the end of the day, we still consider ourselves not small, but as we're growing, we hope that our voice becomes stronger in the world of conservation, and that we're able to use a platform like YouTube and social media, and just me being able to get out, even to do things like we're doing today, to eventually bring more interest and more support for these conservation groups, not only here in the United States, but everywhere else that we are losing these animals. I mean, our goal at the end of the day is to educate people about animals and promote conservation, and anything that we can do through, the growth of our brand is going to help all these people that are on the ground in these places that maybe don't have the reach through YouTube. It takes a lot of money and a lot of heart and a lot of time and care and precision to really make these efforts work. And our real goal at the end of the day is to be in a position to help instrument all this moving forward.
Well, you're doing a great job, man. Like Brian and I said before, you're one of the only guys we've ever reached out to have on the show.
Honored.
So we appreciate you coming on. We have a few fan questions. We had hundreds of them.
Yeah.
People were
got some
so
fans
excited.
out there, Coyote.
So maybe
Our
just
Coyote pack is
go
awesome,
through a few, and then we'll get Coyote out of here. We know you got to save a hip.
I hang out all day with you guys if we need to, and we can go.
If you could just have a tarantula hawk attack Brian's face,
yeah, right.
I would pay good money for that.
Sting me right now. And by the way, nothing would move. I want to see if I can control it.
Yeah, and then you got to present then right here from the podcast.
Yeah, you got to
room
talk about it
and tell the audience what you're going
and
through.
stay controlled,
dude.
And then I'm going to be your guy.
There's
going.
not a lot of roll around room here on the floor.
You good, man?
I may do that for.
You're never doing that.
I don't say I'm never doing that.
That's never happening.
No, you don't know that.
Never happening.
If you pull that bad boy out, and I can, and the task would be, can I actually conduct either an interview or talk and answer your questions?
Here's the most suspenseful part is the moment once you've actually got the insect in the forceps, and then you're like, I've got it. In the moment of contact, that's what takes the most nerve. Once it's on your skin, then you're just waiting.
Oh, but
it's
we're not. You know how this go down, Coyote? We're not professionals. Me and him would go to Phoenix or Arizona. I'm like, I got one. I got. And then go right right on his neck. If you think we're gonna do what these guys do, and I'm like, here, Brian, give me your form. Okay, are you ready?
No, Coyote would be there.
That's not happening.
Coyote would be there.
He don't have time for this.
No, he'd be there.
Week two.
could probably
Jackass.
make
It would be
He'd
awesome.
be there to mop my brow with a warm cloth.
I'd coach you through it. You know, I could be there. I'd be like the
That'd be
doctor.
great.
I'd come in.
Just don't let me do it.
It's
don't
time
let
for
me
your-
do it. I'd be like, yeah, here on your arm.
Guys, it's time for your dose of tarantula hawk. Everybody just sit back, relax, you know.
If I did it, you would do it.
I would do it at the same time. That'd be fun.
Man, that may be
On
my
your leg?
follow up
Where
on
would
the
we do
show.
it?
We'll bring
No,
the
we're gonna do it
tarantula
just
hawk
like
in.
Coyote does on our forearm.
Why did it have to be the meat?
Because that's where he
meaty
does
part,
it,
bro.
Well,
Well, we do it in that spot so that the cameras can get a good shot.
What about my knee? Can I get it right here?
I don't know on my leg.
I don't know if you
Oh,
want to
no,
walk
no.
around with a bad leg.
I think you got to do it in the same spot I did, so you get the same effect. You know, we kind of got it, and then we can gauge it on like. And then there's
What
the
if we
after
went up
sting
you? What
performance.
if we went up you and I got a tarantula hawk on my neck, bullet ant on my forearm? No.
Well-
same time.
Oh God!
I would guess you guys have a pretty big YouTube video on your hands. So
Or
nothing wrong with
it'd be
that.
the end of Brian and Brendan on Fire and the Kid and we both die.
Right, right.
Let's get to the fan questions.
God.
All right, Coyote. Flocka Dodd is asking, do you have any advice for someone else wanting to work with animals? Besides a college degree, what places and kind of work can I volunteer to do?
That's a great question. That's one that we oftentimes get is how did you get into this? How do I get into this? You know, going to school is obviously very important. You know, I went to school. A lot of people don't realize for film production, I studied animal stuff on the side. You know, whether you're going for a biology degree and you're specializing in one specific field, that could put you in the right position to have field knowledge. But at the end of the day, what it breaks down to is having field experience. And oftentimes I will say to people, do research on the internet, read books, and volunteer at a local wildlife sanctuary. I mean, these are places that need help. They need volunteers. They need people that are willing to dedicate the hours to, whether it's feed animals, clean animal cages, you know, help with the administrative aspects, get involved with being hands-on with animals that are right there in your hometown. I mean, we've got an amazing place in Ohio called the Ohio Wildlife Center that I'm constantly promoting because you know, they're only working with raccoons and foxes and white-tailed deer and red-tailed hawks, but
Not dangerous
those,
enough for me.
How dangerous is that for you?
Not dangerous enough for me.
Maybe not, but
He's
these
bored
are
already.
still incredibly important animals to that specific ecosystem. So whether you're in Arizona, Florida, Ohio, or South America, all of these places need help and need volunteers. And that's the way to get involved with something like this. Now, if you want to make a YouTube channel, you need to obviously have some sort of, you know, camera or technology background.
And also a plan.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to have friends that are willing to go through it with you. The reason that we've gotten to where we are with the Brave Wilderness channel is because I have unbelievable friends that have gone down this path with me. You know, Mark and Chance and Chris and Mario, like, we weren't making any sort of living at this for many years. We were doing this out of passion, having day jobs and using our vacation time to travel. All of our vacation time was used making these YouTube videos. That's
what it takes, man.
Nobody was making a penny for a very long time. And it was passion that you have to do it. And the consistency is what it's all about. Go out and make a YouTube video and then just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Never give up.
I was hoping you guys make so much money. You guys come in just blinged out. You have like a tarantula hawk necklace, all diamonds.
Well, I'll tell you, we don't
like
have a helicopter.
A helicopter
No
came in on
helicopters
Uber
yet.
Chopper.
Yeah.
What else you got,
Uber
Chin?
Chopper. That should be the next thing.
All right, Kalani Simone is asking, how did you come up with the idea of being stung and bitten by insects and animals?
Well, the first one did start with getting quilled by the porcupine, and the real sting ladder climb began with the harvester ants. We were in Arizona, right in my mom's backyard. There was a harvester ant nest, and my mom was like, if you guys are playing out there, she calls it playing, right? Because my mom still looks at me as like a kid.
How old are
playing
you?
in the backyard. I'm 35.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And she's like, if you guys are playing out in the backyard, watch out for those harvester ants. I'm getting stung by them all the time. We're like, Mom, you're getting stung by harvester ants? So we did a little research, and they have the most potent venom in the insect kingdom. Now, the dosage of venom that goes into is not that great, but the venom is extremely potent. So we said, I wonder how many stings Coyote can take. So we just put my hands into the amount of harvester ants. I took like 60 stings. And
60?
That episode exploded. And that's when people were like, you should get stung by the bullet ant. We're like, bullet ant? We looked this thing up and we're like, oh, there's no way that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then once we started doing some other things, we're like, this is working. The fire ants, the leafcutter ants, the velvet ant, the tarantula hawk. It's like lots of things to get stung by, and the audience was interested in it. And again, the purpose of the Sting episodes was to give an education about these animals, but also to draw people to the channel so that they could find the conservation and education that we really want them to pay attention to.
Does this story end for you where you're finally you just maybe get a little too much into it, and it's like maybe get attacked by a great white or something.
No, actually, one of my dreams.
This thing can really bite.
The big goal for me at some point is to free swim with a white shark. Like I want to be out of the cage in the water with a white shark.
David
to
Blaine.
prove to people that
movie could end a
white
little
sharks
weird.
do not just want to eat humans. And it's just a matter of time before we find the right place for me to be able to go and do what this is. And again, a lot of our goal with the brand is to dispel a lot of the false myths and rumors. Like I grew up, I love the movie Jaws. Spielberg is one of my greatest influences, and I'm sure he still gets hate mail of causing people to be afraid of sharks. And the real thing that we need to do is educate people about sharks and prove to people that sharks are not something you need to be afraid of. You need to respect them and realize you're in their environment. If you're out on a surfboard and you look like a seal, you're kind of fair game. So, I'm not afraid of being bitten or attacked by a great white shark. And we're to answer the question where this ultimately ends up going is just we want the brand to segue into the more bizarre creatures that are out there. And as we get to travel around the world, we've really only done North America so far. Costa Rica, Alaska, we're going to Australia this year. South America,
now Australia,
Africa,
sir. Australia, Africa.
Africa?
You got some spiders and you got some snakes down there.
Exactly. And these are the things that we want to introduce to kids. There are so many cool, bizarre creatures that I don't need to be bitten and stung by these things for people to be like, wow, that's crazy cool. Like, for example, here, right on the coast of California, you have the giant black sea hare, which is the largest slug species in the world. And we're doing Conan O'Brien tomorrow night, and their big thing was bring a black sea hare. Can you get one of these sea slugs?
Sea hare.
They're right
You
here.
have to go catch one?
Yeah.
You guys can go catch one and bring on Conan?
Wait, is it like a
Look at this guy. Look at this. See, there's our picture. Look, this guy's crazy.
Looks like a
He's
little hippo. Looks like a hippo.
Completely
A
harmless.
big old snail.
And all you guys here on the West Coast, you're surfing around these guys every single day.
I
You don't
want to
realize
pet
they're there.
black sea snail.
What?
Isn't that cool?
All that ink?
Now, the black sea hare does not ink. The brown sea hare does. That's a misconception that's
Okay,
out
that's
there.
a strange looking. That thing is just one
Where
big
would we
blob.
find
it's like
something like that?
Just go down to
sea
San
cucumber.
Pedro or Malibu, anywhere on the beach. They're all over the
They're
place.
in the rocks?
Yeah,
and
well,
stuff?
at low tide, you can go out there, walk around. Now, again, we don't recommend that you just go up and pick up any animal, but they are completely harmless.
I'm
if you
picking
see one,
one
you can pet it on its back.
look at
Just
that
be
picture.
careful.
Thing's got
with
no
it.
muscle tone whatsoever.
Who, me or you, or the slug?
Well, I'm saying that
slug is solid muscle.
I
right
bet he's
there.
heavy.
That slug was heavy. I was actually tough because when I had to film it holding it on my arm like this, you think about hold
Dense.
7 pounds out for
it's dense.
10 minutes. After a while, your arm.
What's
really
that bad
begins to get
boy?
tired.
What's that bad boy eat?
It eats decomposing plant matter, algae,
Sure.
stuff
So
like
cool.
that. Yeah, it won't bite you. It's non-venomous. They're slightly toxic if you were to eat one, but no one's ever going to want to try to eat a slug.
So is, when you're going on Conan O'Brien, is he bringing you on this kind of, how they've done before with, what's his name, Jack Hanna or whatever his name, and you're bringing out animals? Is it that type of thing? When you go on there, is it more
we
showing
don't
your
100% know
videos?
yet, but it's a combination of both, and that's the cool thing that we've done with our
it should
YouTube
be.
channel is not just an animal presenter. I'm hoping to go on to be able to
Much
talk like
more.
I'm with you guys about the purpose of the brand, the shows that we've done on YouTube, but also it's the cool opportunity. Like if we had animals here today, it would have been awesome too. People,
I just love that
would've
you. I
loved
love that
that.
you start this YouTube channel and now you're on Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
That's what I love. That's what's so possible with new media now.
Oh, for us, it's so flattering. I mean, we're kids from Central Ohio, and we're just like, even to be here doing this with you guys is just, we're beside ourselves
Love
right
it,
now. This
man.
is so,
Worthy-
it's so much fun and
Let's
so
do
cool.
one more question, Chin.
Sure. All right. Whose kitty litter wants to know?
Who's kitty litter? That's an awesome name.
Sure is crazy.
Are land things that bite you worse than things in the ocean and sea? Example, stonefish, aka rock with eyes.
Yeah, well,
Brian just talked about a stonefish. He was in Bora Bora and saw a stonefish.
yeah, stonefish is
And he killed
definitely
it.
not
Yeah,
something
he killed
you want
it,
to get
Coyote.
stung by. I mean, there's no, yeah, you know what's killing.
No, he didn't kill it. I'm just killing.
You don't, speaking to the audience, you don't ever want to be bitten, stung, chomped, clawed by anything. Again,
Never.
always admire things from a safe distance. But for me, when it comes down to the bites and the stings, I prefer to take a bite over a sting because when venom is involved, your body has a chance of having a negative reaction. If something's chomping me, it's a flesh wound, right? Now, you do stand the chance of infection. We do have proper medical teams that will help me clean up after the fact and keep an eye on something like an alligator bite. But, at the end of the day, if I had to choose, it's usually a bite.
But that
over a
Guillemot
sting.
said, I'm going to do both. I'm going to bite, then inject a little poison.
Yeah, well, with
both.
something
Did
like
both.
that, it's different. Like, things you guys have to look forward to if we can give away any kind of like teasers heading into 2017. Pinched by a giant lobster in Maine. I mean, that's no venom, but I can guarantee you getting pinched by a giant lobster is going to be painful.
That's going to hurt.
Probably on my hand or my arm,
We
depending
don't know
how big
yet,
the
dude.
lobster
Wait till
is.
it comes out.
Well, maybe he was just like, check out this lobster on the nose.
Not on my nose. Or like I want to get into a giant tank full of piranhas. Let's see what happens when Coyote gets in with piranhas. Do piranhas really swarm to you and turn you into a buffet line?
I'm in. Piranhas?
You guys want to come hang out on location when we do the piranha episode?
100%.
Now,
Where is that?
Where is it?
Well, we know piranhas, you can find all throughout South America. And this is one of those more controlled environment things because we're not going to go out and catch a gazillion piranhas.
Not jump in the
hook and
Amazon.
line. Yeah, it's probably one of those rare opportunities where it's a scenario like we did the Dungeness crab pinch. Now, we had to actually go to the docks in Alaska to get a Dungeness crab. So our big one with that was like, oh, we're actually saving a crab technically. You are not going to end up on somebody's plate. You're going to pinch Coyote and then you get to go back out in the ocean. Probably find yourself in another crab pot. But we felt justified in what it was.
Crab's got a strong pinch.
Yeah, that was a strong pinch. It's probably nothing compared to what the lobster's going to be.
Probably nothing.
lobsters
compared to
got
what
But with the
Beavers, I'm
piranha
pretty sure,
one,
dude.
it's like, we'll have to probably bring in piranhas that, were either caught in the wild or raised in captivity.
Yep.
Not exactly. We haven't produced this out yet. But ultimately, the
scary
myth
one.
there to prove is, do piranhas just want to eat humans?
When Joe Rogan was a young man, he had a bunch of piranhas in a huge tank. And he had his goldfish that were in an adjacent tank. So it was one big tank, but there was a divider.
Yeah.
And the goldfish would swim around in one section. And, of course, they were the ones that would be fed to the piranhas. Yeah. And Joe had on there, he had, I think it was a diagram of a skull, and it said death row. Mm-hmm. And that was his way of being funny. And I never forgot that he would take those goldfish and put them in the piranhas. I never know what happened.
And the prawns would just destroy him?
Yeah, they would just go crazy.
But yeah, when the piranha knows
Some
this
dark
prey, and
stuff.
I can't give away too much because, to be honest with you, we don't know
We don't
what's going to
know,
happen.
We don't know.
And that's the thing.
But if you want to invite us, wouldn't mind dipping his toe in that piranha.
Now, hold on for a sec.
Well,
That's
you
where
just
I
said
draw
you
the
want
line,
to do
sir.
it.
Sir, I talked about the translator. Please don't volunteer me for the piranhas.
You could just put a foot in the water.
Just the
Now-
toe.
now
Just
everybody-
dip it on
No,
in.
not the big toe. He doesn't want anything to happen to his
Can't
big
have
toe.
the big
We'll
toe.
put his neck in the water.
Put my neck.
We'll come up with some sort of a neck
My-
thing
my-
that you can like one of those pillows that
Dipping
supports
my
your neck
neck.
properly.
Dipping
it's
my
like
neck.
a tank
Yep.
that you lay your neck
Dip on in.
My neck,
Yeah.
I got a lot of powerful muscle. I got a very wide,
You also
athletic,
have some very
expansive neck.
important blood flow that goes through
Yeah,
here,
there's a
so
couple
you
important
might want to
veins.
reconsider that.
That's so funny. I love it, man. Well,
My
dude,
jugular.
I know you're busy, and we can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you
really
so much for
can't.
having me.
Coyote
This was
Peterson.
And
wonderful.
for those that don't know, they can get all your stuff on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, if you just want to give all that out. So
Sure. If you just search Brave Wilderness, you'll find us at Coyote Peterson as everything else social media wise.
It's
awesome.
everywhere. Can't thank you enough, man.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming
guys.
in.
We'll walk you out.
I knew that was going to be good, brother.
Yeah, dude.
I knew he was going to bring the heat.
Well, you and I are fired up about 2017, and the goal is to make every single episode as powerful and as good as we can make it.
Well, yeah, be less dramatic, but yeah, I hear you. Yeah, be way less dramatic. I don't know what's going on.
The goal is
I don't
to
know what's
break the
going-
mold.
The goal is
The
to
goal
just bring and inspire.
Is to destroy
Sir,
eardrums.
we usually sing dick jokes and make fun of each other. I need you to relax.
The goal is to raise humanity up and change.
Hey, Tony Robbins,
change
stay in
the
your lane.
landscape and to make people live with passion. I want you guys to live with passion.
Not a motivational podcast.
I am your
here.
guru.
That was so intense. I guess, brother. I just love having Coyote Peterson, who's
Got a
an
little
animal
carried away.
expert.
Got a little carried away.
Yeah, he did. I'll tell you where else we get carried away. Vancouver next weekend.
Vancouver!
We're in Vancouver on the 18th and 19th live. The 19th is sold out, so get tickets right now for the 18th. And then on the 20th,
Good
we
coffee.
are in Seattle.
Oh, good
And on the
coffee there,
21st, we are in Portland.
Good
So all
coffee
next
there.
week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we coming live. Actually, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we live.
Coffee, comedy, and then heroin afterwards if you
Oh,
want.
wow.
Well, this is easy
No,
to get.
I can't. No,
Okay,
I'm
I don't
not
know.
into that, bro.
Okay, I don't know. It's easy to get from what I
Well-
hear. In the Pacific Northwest because it's a little bit
I
rainy.
don't no
okay,
idea.
keep going.
You're ruining it.
Sorry.
Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, tfatk.com right now. And then February 9th, we are in San Francisco, Cobb's Theater, one night only. So tfatk.com right now. All those will be sold out. Get them while they're hot. Next week, we are live. With that, Coyote Peterson is my spirit animal. I love that guy. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. This is The Final Kid. We're out.